Welcome back, everybody. Today we're here to talk about The Walking Dead Season 10, Episode 2, titled We Are the End of the World. I love this episode. I really did. We learned so much about the Whispers. We're going to get through all of it in this review, obviously, but if you haven't seen the episode, go check it out and then come back to this review, as this review will contain spoilers. Also, if you're a fan of The Walking Dead, be sure to subscribe, because we're going to be talking a lot about The Walking Dead now since it's back on the air. Reviews, breakdowns, all that kind of stuff, so be sure to subscribe. But with all that being said, let's get into the review. Alright, like I said, I love this episode. I honestly liked it more than the premiere, and that's a lot because this episode only had the Whispers in it. And to me, this episode shows why the Whisperers are a group that can stand on its own, and is the reason why The Walking Dead is back to being what it originally was. Because a lot of times, when we have episodes that don't cover everybody, it can be very boring sometimes. I know a lot of the episodes back in season 7 and 8 that only had the saviors. A lot of the criticism around those episodes were that they only had the saviors in it. And I guess the saviors are not as interesting as the Whispers, because to me, this episode that only had the Whispers in it, I loved it. I really did. We learned so much about the Whispers, and not only that, but the stuff that actually happened among the Whispers, the intensity, and we're gonna get through all of it, like I said. But this episode to me showed why the Whispers have brought another level to The Walking Dead. I absolutely love the opening minutes. The Walker eating that lady was honestly one of the best Walker kills I've ever seen on The Walking Dead, or at least for a long time. It was really brutal, which reminded me of like classic Walking Dead. And this episode was directed by Greg Nicotero, who just knows his horror so much, because he knows how to make an episode scary and feel like a horror movie. Even like the alpha and beta stuff in the flashbacks. Like one scene in particular, which I talked about before because they released it as a sneak peek, was when Alpha and Lydia first saw Beta, and like the camera cut to Beta and we heard that like bass drop. So that's what I mean. Like that definitely reminds me of like horror movies. So yeah, that's what I mean when I say Greg Nicotero knows what he's doing when he directs horror. And I think this episode was, I remember I said last week was one of his best directed episodes because of the action sequences. He did a great job. This episode, he did a great job with the horror. So I'm excited for more Greg Nicotero episodes, is all I'm saying. Another scene I really loved was when that Whisperer started crying because she was remembering her, her baby that she lost. And then she started crying, and the Whisperers noticed her, and they were about to go eat her, and then Beta came and like killed the two walkers super quickly. I love that scene. And then also later on, when they were walking in the herd again, that Whisperer actually jumped on Alpha and was, trying to drag her down and get her killed. And then, the Whisperers came in and, tried to kill the walkers. Obviously, the walkers killed that Whisperer. But I love those scenes because it brought so much intensity. And it's interesting and funny because if you watch my review, or like my episodes throughout the week, and I did like a breakdown for the episode 2 trailer, something I talked about was how I really want there to be more tense scenes among the Whisperers, like in the Horde, and I want to see like walkers getting close to the Whisperers and like moments where it's going to be super close. And that's exactly what we got in this episode, which was kind of blew my mind because I was like, okay, that's literally what I asked for and we got it. So that's why I think I'm super happy with this episode, because a lot of stuff that I was curious about and a lot of stuff that I wanted actually came true. So I really dug this episode, if you couldn't tell already. And I definitely think that Walking Dead is benefiting from these tension-filled scenes because, like I said, I've said it many times throughout the past year since the Whisperers got introduced, but the Whisperers have brought back, the element of horror, and that's what the Walking Dead was sort of lacking recently. And yeah, it's back, where it was, so I'm happy about that. I also really like the deeper end sequence, when that Whisperer was walking to the deeper end, where obviously they could speak louder and stuff like that, and their noise was, confined. I love that sequence also, especially the score. That bass sound mixed with the Whispers theme was just like amazing. I just love that whole sequence. And I also liked how Alpha, let her live, because it said a lot about her character and how she feels about Lydia, and that was interesting seeing that side of Alpha, which we haven't really seen before. So I like how they explored that also. It was also really interesting to me when the Whisperer was talking to Gamma about how, they were talking about the Hilltop and how they had crops there, and she kind of wanted that lifestyle. that was interesting to me because it just made me think like how many other Whisperers out there want that exact lifestyle. I know a lot of people would probably prefer to be at the Hilltop and living normally than what Alpha is doing to them, and they might have just became part of the Whisperers because they had no other option, similar to how a lot of the Saviors fell under Negan because Negan saved them and helped them and gave them a place to live. And Negan being that leader, they had nowhere else to go, so they went with Negan, which obviously they weren't doing good things. Same thing with the Whisperers. That's definitely interesting me, because I've been thinking, I've said this before in other videos, like I don't know if any of the Whisperers are gonna survive the Whisper War, because like it's gonna be hard to see any of the Whisperers joining the good side, because the Whisperers, I think, are just way too different for that, and just super dark and scary and what they were doing. But now, since they're actually exploring more of the individual Whisperers rather than the main ones, who obviously aren't good people, we're learning that these Whisperers are not all bad people. Some of them are just falling under Alpha's rule. So seeing that kind of makes me think that now, since after the Whisper War, we actually might see some Whisperers join the good side, which would be pretty, insane to see. Now, the flashback scenes were great. They really were. I love seeing, Beta's origin. We learned a lot about Beta. And, I don't think, unless I missed it, I don't think we learned exactly who that character was at the end. Who was close to Beta. I don't know what the relationship was, unless I missed it. I didn't catch that, but we sort of learned why Beta became who he is and why he doesn't take off the mask and stuff like that. So I love that. I love how the show is exploring Beta a lot more than what the comic did. Not saying that the comic did a bad job or anything like that, but I'm just saying that I think the show, and I think AMC knows how the fan base has reacted to the Whisperers. And I think they are taking advantage of that by giving us more, which so far, they've been doing a really good job. This scene wasn't like anything big or anything, but I just love that scene when Alpha and Beta were killing the walkers. I don't know why, but it was just super entertaining, because I think Alpha and Beta are really good at killing walkers. They did it very swiftly, and they were quick and neat about it. Like the Alpha's stabs to the head were just so quick. So I don't know. Something about it was satisfying is what I'm trying to say. I just like seeing those scenes. Also, there was something about these flashback scenes that just made the show feel like it was in season 3 or 4. Even though in the timeline it wasn't even that far back. But I just think the idea of having like 1 or 2 characters, a small group, whatever, just like a small group in an abandoned place, it just definitely reminded me of like the early days of the apocalypse. And I really liked these flashback scenes, So, I just think right now the world of The Walking Dead is so big, because we got Fear and the CRM and so many other groups all around the world, that when you actually look at it in the perspective that it was in this episode, just 2 people in a little, abandoned place just trying to survive, and, they're forming a group, definitely reminded me of like the early days. So I really did like these flashback scenes. But yeah, we saw at the end there Gamma actually becoming Gamma, and we'll see how far that goes, if Gamma's gonna try to work her way up and maybe even overthrow Beta. I mean, we've seen Alpha and Beta having issues in the past. Even to this day, they still have issues. But we'll see how long those. I mean, at the end of the episode, they did make up, so I don't think they're gonna have that many problems. But we saw where the episode ended, with Alpha and Carol looking at each other. So now we're going into the Whisper War. I think episode 3 will definitely start picking up with the war, so I'm excited for that. This episode also really made me look forward to the actual Whisper War and the character dynamics of it, like Lydia and Alpha, because right now I've always kind of been thinking about what is Lydia's role gonna be like in the Whisper War, because essentially right now they're gearing up to go to war against her mom and her people. And even though she doesn't like them, and she doesn't really like what they do and stuff like that, it's still going to war against these people who you've been around your entire life. So that's always been interesting to me, and now after this episode I'm even more excited to see what goes on there. But you guys let me know in the comments down below, do you guys think Lydia will go back to the Whisperers, because right now it looks like her mom wants her back, or do you think she's gonna fight against her mom and her people? Let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, as far as this episode, like I said many times throughout the review, I loved it. I really did. So you guys let me know in the comments down below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know all your thoughts and opinions about season 10. I am gonna wrap it up there for this video, so hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, be sure to leave a like rating, And also be sure to stay tuned for my episode 3 trailer breakdown. That'll be coming out shortly, so stay tuned by hitting that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.